For years, Elon Musk's greatest ambitions sounded almost too large to measure. Reusable rockets, a private internet surrounding the Earth, cars that could drive themselves, humanoid robots working beside human beings, artificial intelligence trained on some of the largest computing systems ever assembled, and beyond all of it, a permanent human civilization on Mars. Each idea seemed to belong to a different industry. But Musk was not building separate dreams. He was building pieces of the same machine. In June 2026, the scale of that machine became impossible to ignore. SpaceX entered the public market through the largest initial public offering in history, raising approximately $75 billion. The listing valued the company in the neighborhood of $1.5 to nearly $2 trillion. For a brief moment, the value of Musk's holdings pushed his estimated fortune above $1 trillion. But that number did not mean $1 trillion was sitting in a bank account. It was paper wealth, connected to shares, expectations, future milestones, and the belief that Musk's companies could transform entire industries. The market was not simply pricing rockets. It was pricing a story about the future. That story begins on the ground, where Tesla is attempting to evolve from a car company into an artificial intelligence and robotics company. It rises into orbit, where SpaceX controls the world's most active launch system and operates Starlink, a global satellite network with millions of subscribers. It extends into enormous data centers, where xAI trains Grok and other frontier artificial intelligence systems. And it moves through X, the social platform that gives those systems immediate access to a global stream of information, conversation, controversy, and human attention. Legally, these businesses do not all belong to one public corporation. Tesla remains separate from SpaceX. Their shareholders, obligations, and financial statements are different, but strategically, they increasingly point in the same direction. Tesla provides vehicles, batteries, energy systems, manufacturing, and real-world data. SpaceX provides rockets, satellites, and a path to orbital infrastructure. Starlink provides global connectivity. X provides distribution and information. xAI provides the intelligence layer. If these pieces work together, Musk will not merely own successful products. His companies could influence the infrastructure through which people travel, communicate, obtain information, and interact with machines. That is the real trillion-dollar bet. It is not a single investment. It is a wager that several extremely difficult technologies can mature at roughly the same moment, reinforce one another, and create a system more valuable than any individual company inside it. The reward could be historic. The risk could be just as large, because the structure depends on an unusual amount of confidence in one person, one vision, and one ability to keep moving capital, engineers, and public attention toward goals that may take decades to complete. The question is no longer whether Elon Musk can build valuable companies. He already has. The question is whether those companies are becoming the foundation of a new technological era, or the most expensive concentration of unfinished promises in modern business history. To understand the answer, we have to begin with the part of the empire that is already producing the cash, scale, and physical reach required to finance the future. Not Mars, not humanoid robots, not even artificial intelligence. The story begins with thousands of machines moving silently above our heads. When people think about SpaceX, they usually imagine fire, Falcon rockets rising through the atmosphere, starships standing beside its launch tower, engines powerful enough to shake the ground from miles away. But the most important SpaceX business may not be the rocket itself. It may be what the rocket carries. By March 2026, Starlink had approximately 10.3 million subscribers and offered service in 164 countries. SpaceX said the network could reach more than 3.3 billion people. That scale transformed Starlink from an experiment into the financial engine of the company. In 2025, SpaceX's connectivity segment, driven primarily by Starlink, generated approximately $11.4 billion in revenue and more than $4.4 billion in operating income. During the first 3 months of 2026 alone, the segment produced approximately $3.26 billion in revenue. This is why reusable rockets matter. Falcon 9 does not only carry satellites into space, it repeatedly lowers the cost of expanding the network that pays for the next generation of rockets. The rocket launches the satellites. The satellites create revenue. The revenue finances more launches, more factories, more research, and more satellites. It is a loop that few competitors can reproduce. And at the center of the next stage is Starship. SpaceX designed Starship to be far larger and more reusable than Falcon 9. The company says its next major configuration is intended to place roughly 100 metric tons into orbit while recovering both stages for rapid reuse. But the most important word is intended. By the time of SpaceX's 2026 public offering documents, Starship had completed 12 flight tests. It had demonstrated extraordinary engineering progress, but it had not yet proven the complete, rapid, and reliable system required by Musk's larger vision. This distinction matters because Starship is expected to carry much more than people to Mars. It is supposed to launch a new generation of Starlink satellites with dramatically greater capacity. It is expected to support lunar missions. It may carry large scientific instruments, commercial stations, and military cargo. And SpaceX has openly described another possibility: artificial intelligence, computing infrastructure placed in orbit. The idea sounds extreme. Data centers consume enormous amounts of land, electricity, and cooling water. Space offers continuous solar energy in some orbits and a vast physical environment for expansion. But orbit also creates new problems. Hardware is difficult to repair. Radiation damages electronics. Communication delays, launch costs, and thermal management cannot be wished away. An orbital data center is not automatically practical simply because it is possible to imagine. Yet this is the pattern behind Musk's most important companies. He begins with a goal that appears financially irrational. He builds an intermediate business that can survive before the final goal is reached. Tesla did not begin with mass-market vehicles. It began with an expensive sports car and used each generation to finance the next. SpaceX did not begin by carrying settlers to Mars. It built a launch business, won commercial and government contracts, perfected partial reusability, and then surrounded the planet with a communications network. The final destination attracts attention. The intermediate system creates value. This is why the trillion-dollar valuation cannot be understood as a simple judgment about whether human beings will reach Mars. Investors are betting on the infrastructure built along the way. Even if a permanent Martian city remains decades away, Starlink can connect aircraft, ships, homes, remote communities, and military operations. Even if fully reusable Starship flights take longer than predicted, Falcon 9 can continue launching payloads. Even if orbital computing remains experimental, the possibility can influence how SpaceX designs satellites, energy systems, and future launch capacity. But there is another reason Starship has become central. The company above the Earth is no longer only a space and communications company. In early 2026, SpaceX absorbed xAI. The rocket business, the satellite business, the social network, and the artificial intelligence laboratory were pulled into the same expanding structure. And that changed the meaning of the entire bet. xAI was created to compete in one of the most expensive technological races in history. Training frontier artificial intelligence requires more than talented researchers and clever code. It requires specialized chips, massive data centers, enormous amounts of electricity, cooling infrastructure, access to data, and billions of dollars that may be spent long before the business becomes profitable. In January 2026, xAI announced that it had raised $20 billion in an expanded funding round. The company also said its Colossus computing system had reached 200,000 graphics processing units and had been built at extraordinary speed. Then the boundary between artificial intelligence and space began to disappear. After the merger, xAI became part of SpaceX's larger corporate structure. X, previously brought under xAI, connected the artificial intelligence company to a major social platform. The result was a system with an unusual combination of assets: an artificial intelligence model, a real-time information network, a global satellite constellation, a launch company, and a long-term plan for computing beyond Earth. This does not guarantee success. It guarantees scale. SpaceX's public offering documents revealed how costly that scale had become. During the first quarter of 2026, the combined company reported a net loss of approximately $4.28 billion. Its artificial intelligence segment generated approximately $818 million in revenue, but recorded an operating loss of roughly $2.47 billion. Research and development spending inside that AI segment rose sharply as the company expanded computing infrastructure, data centers, and GPU capacity. Those losses do not prove the strategy will fail. Young infrastructure businesses often spend heavily before reaching maturity, but they reveal what investors are truly financing. They are not purchasing a finished empire. They are paying for the construction of one. Tesla is making a related bet from another direction. In its 2026 filings, Tesla said it expected capital expenditures to exceed $25 billion for the year, driven in large part by artificial intelligence initiatives, computing infrastructure, data centers, production lines, and a growing fleet of AI-enabled assets. The company continues to develop supervised driving software, the Cybercab and Optimus, its general-purpose humanoid robot. Tesla reported more than $28 billion in revenue for the second quarter of 2026 and remained profitable. But its future valuation increasingly depends on more than selling electric vehicles. It depends on whether Tesla can turn factories into robot factories, cars into autonomous machines, and millions of physical products into a distributed network that continuously improves through data. This is where Musk's businesses begin to resemble one another. Tesla trains intelligence for machines operating on roads. xAI trains intelligence for digital reasoning, language, images, and software. X supplies a stream of human activity and a channel for distribution. Starlink carries information across the planet. SpaceX creates the possibility of moving the computing layer beyond the planet. Each company attacks a different bottleneck: energy, transportation, intelligence, communication, access to orbit. The optimistic interpretation is powerful. If one company discovers something useful, the others can accelerate it. Better batteries could support robots, data centers, and off-world infrastructure. More capable AI could improve engineering, manufacturing, customer service, and autonomous systems. Cheaper launch costs could expand communications and computing. More connectivity could bring more users into the network. But the same connections create a different possibility. If one critical piece fails, the weakness can spread. If Starship is delayed, satellite expansion and orbital computing become more expensive. If AI spending grows faster than AI revenue, the profitable parts of the system may be forced to carry the burden. If Tesla's autonomous technology develops more slowly than expected, the market may reconsider how much of the company's value belongs to the future rather than the present. And if public confidence in Musk changes, several companies can be affected at the same time. That is the hidden architecture of the trillion-dollar bet. The companies may reinforce one another technologically, but they are also connected psychologically by the same promise. The promise that Elon Musk will continue turning impossible deadlines into valuable infrastructure before investors lose patience. Every great technological project requires belief before it produces evidence. Railroads were financed before entire regions had enough passengers. Electrical grids were built before every home owned appliances. The early internet required enormous investment before most people understood why they would need it. But belief becomes dangerous when it can no longer be separated from the person selling the vision. SpaceX's 2026 public offering exposed that tension. Investors were not only valuing Starlink revenue, launch contracts, and engineering assets. They were assigning a premium to Musk himself. Analysts described it as the Elon premium, the additional value created by confidence that Musk can enter an industry, ignore its traditional limits, and force it to move faster. That confidence has evidence behind it. SpaceX transformed rocket reusability from an industry ambition into routine operation. Tesla forced established automakers to take electric vehicles seriously. Starlink created a global satellite internet business at a scale competitors had not achieved. These are not imaginary accomplishments. But past success does not remove future risk. It can increase it by convincing markets that every new promise deserves the same level of trust. SpaceX's offering documents made clear that Musk would remain Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technical Officer, and Chairman. Its share structure also preserved extraordinary influence through high-vote Class B stock. Public investors could own part of the company without gaining proportional control over its direction. They were buying access to Musk's decisions, not the power to replace them easily. The financial distance between present assets and future expectations was also enormous. At the expected United States offering price of $135 per share, SpaceX's adjusted net asset value was calculated at less than $9 per share. That does not mean the remaining value was false. Technology companies are not valued only by the equipment on their balance sheets. It means the overwhelming majority of the price represented expectations about future growth, future profits, future markets, and future execution. In other words, investors were buying tomorrow. And tomorrow can change very quickly. Within weeks of the historic offering, SpaceX shares became sharply volatile and fell far below their first post-listing highs. Tesla shares also faced pressure as markets questioned the cost and timing of massive artificial intelligence investments. The same story that can create extraordinary paper wealth can erase it just as rapidly. There are also risks that no engineer can solve alone. Satellite communications operate inside geopolitical conflict. Launch technology is restricted by export laws. Government contracts can be affected by policy. Artificial intelligence is entering a period of regulation, legal disputes, and public fear. Social platforms can amplify political influence while damaging commercial trust. And when several important systems are associated with one individual, personal decisions become economic events. This does not make Musk unique. Many founder-led companies depend heavily on one personality. What makes this case unusual is the scale of the infrastructure involved. Cars move through public streets. Satellites move above national borders. AI systems shape information. Rockets carry government and commercial payloads. Communication networks can become strategically important during disasters and wars. The trillion-dollar question is therefore larger than whether Musk becomes richer. It is whether society should become dependent on systems whose speed comes partly from concentrated control. Centralized leadership can make decisions faster. It can also make one person's miscalculation travel farther. The future Musk is building may be efficient because the pieces answer to the same vision. It may be fragile for exactly the same reason. The easiest way to misunderstand Elon Musk is to take every promise literally and separately. A car, a robot, a rocket, a satellite, a chatbot, a city on Mars. Viewed alone, each project appears to be an extreme ambition competing for time and money. Viewed together, another picture emerges. Musk is attempting to build an infrastructure stack. At the bottom are energy, batteries, and manufacturing. Above them are autonomous vehicles and robots that operate in the physical world. Above them are artificial intelligence systems that interpret information and make decisions. Around them is a communication network that can reach almost anywhere on Earth. And beyond them is a launch system intended to carry the entire structure into space. This is why the final goal does not have to arrive exactly on schedule for the strategy to create power. Mars can remain distant while Starlink becomes essential. Fully autonomous driving can remain unfinished while Tesla improves its software and collects more real-world experience. General-purpose robots can remain in development while new manufacturing techniques spread through Tesla's factories. Orbital artificial intelligence can remain theoretical while XAI builds larger systems on Earth. The destination justifies the scale. The infrastructure built along the way creates the business. If the strategy succeeds, Musk's companies could occupy some of the most valuable intersections of the coming decades. The intersection between energy and intelligence, between machines and decision-making, between communication and control, between Earth and orbit. But success would create a question that markets alone cannot answer. How much private power is too much when the product is no longer merely a product, but a layer of civilization? A vehicle can be replaced. A social platform can be abandoned. But infrastructure becomes difficult to escape after governments, businesses, and ordinary people begin depending on it. The greatest value of Musk's empire may come from making each part more useful because the others exist. The greatest danger may come from making each part harder to leave for the same reason. There are three broad ways this story can end. In the first, the pieces converge. Starship becomes reliable. Starlink continues expanding. Artificial intelligence becomes profitable. Tesla turns autonomy and robotics into large businesses. The companies create a network whose combined value exceeds every individual risk. In the second, only part of the vision succeeds. Mars remains distant. Orbital computing remains impractical. Humanoid robots develop slowly. But Starlink, launch services, energy storage, and selected AI products still create an extraordinarily valuable industrial system. In the third, expectations outrun engineering. Costs rise. Deadlines move. Regulators intervene. Investors become less patient. And the premium built on belief begins to collapse. No one can know with certainty which future will arrive. That uncertainty is the reason this is a bet. And the size of the bet reveals something about our era. Modern markets do not only finance what already exists, they finance stories about what humanity may become. Sometimes those stories mobilize talent and capital to build things that once appeared impossible. Sometimes they turn charisma into valuation and possibility into a substitute for proof. Wisdom requires holding both truths at the same time. Elon Musk has demonstrated that extreme ambition can change industries. He has not demonstrated that every extreme ambition will succeed. The rockets are real. The satellites are real. The revenue is real. The losses are real. The risks are real. And the future remains unwritten. Proverbs 16:9 says, "A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps." Human beings can plan roads across the earth and routes toward other worlds. But intelligence is not the same as wisdom. Power is not the same as purpose. And the ability to build the future does not automatically answer the question of what that future should become. Elon Musk's trillion-dollar bet is ultimately bigger than Elon Musk. It is a test of how much faith modern civilization is willing to place in technology, markets, and a small number of people who promise to carry humanity somewhere new. If this documentary made you see that future differently, subscribe to Mysteries That Echo, share this video, and tell us in the comments. Is Elon Musk building the infrastructure of a new civilization, or creating a system too powerful to depend on? In our next documentary, how algorithms created a new elite. Because the next centers of power may not be governments, banks, or factories. They may be the invisible systems deciding who is seen, who is rewarded, and who is left behind.